Hey guys, it's Rhonda with Out and About with Larry and Rhonda. This week's video takes us back to Wyoming. We were out there last September and it was a vacation of a lifetime. Larry always does the itinerary and the research and he just straight up killed it this go round. First 2 nights we stayed here at the Curt Gowdy State Park. It's a beautiful place. It has 3,395 acres across 2 counties, and it's named after Curt Gowdy, who was an American sportscaster from Wyoming. He called Red Sox games on the radio and TV for 15 years. We stopped, unpacked, got set up, and then sat down for some sandwiches and chips, just a real simple dinner. And then the locals started showing up to check us out, trying to meet the new kids on the block. And to say we were tickled would be an understatement. After we got done eating, we decided we were going to walk around, have a look-see, and check out the lay of the land. And it is clearly gorgeous. I surely hope these pictures do it justice, but if it doesn't, by all means, get in your nearest vehicle and drive out there. This is a pretty basic site, so no electricity, and since this is our second trip out there in the Tramper, it's still a bare bones rig. We don't have a generator, we don't have any batteries or anything like that. We stay out just long enough to exhaust ourselves pretty good after an 11-hour drive from our house, and we go to bed when it gets dark. It was unseasonably warm, and the first night was a little hot, but we survived. Next morning we get up and it's a moderate hike on the all trails, and this is the Crow Creek hike, and we're headed to Hidden Falls. It did say moderate. We found it to be moderate. Thoroughly enjoyed it though. Headed over to the falls at the end. Ended up having to take our shoes and socks off to get back in there to take some good pictures of the falls. And the thing about early morning hikes is there's not a lot of people, traffic, and the cooler temperatures, so we didn't have to compete with anybody. This was all us for as long as we wanted to, really. Larry takes a selfie stick everywhere we go, and it just comes in handy for shots like that. After the hike, he came back, did a little fishing, caught some trout. He got a 5-day fishing license while we were out there, and it was $56. After that, we headed into Cheyenne to get some lunch. Burgers mostly with specialty toppings and all-you-can-eat fries, and I am all about the all-you-can-eat fries. We didn't stay long in Cheyenne just because of the temperature. It was just so hot. It was almost unbearable. And then after a while, it was time for us to load up and head to the next stop. This is Abe. He is on I-80. It's a 12.5-foot tall bust at the Summit Rest Area. It was obviously overcast and cold. That's why we had on hats and jackets at that point. And then it was a 251-mile trip up to the Sinks Canyon State Park, which is where these photographs are taken. As soon as we got unloaded, Larry snatched up a fishing pole and went out to try his luck. As you can see, and probably hear in some of these little video clips we've taken, it's amazing out there, and I really feel like I need to come up with some other words to describe it other than amazing and beautiful. I just feel like it doesn't really even do it justice. We had some birria tacos for dinner. Larry is a master chef on that Blackstone, and then we went to go see the sights. Now, the Sinks Canyon is actually the Popo River running through it, and it's got a series of caves down there at the end of it where the river disappears and it pops back up across the street on the other side and down a little ways. It was pretty neat to get down in there, but you know, we're a little bit claustrophobic, so we didn't go in too far. And then that last photograph is the rise. That's where the river comes back up. After we toured around there for a little bit, we decided we was going to take a hike, and we ended up going a little further into the Shoshone National Forest. And this is the Popo Falls Trail. It was rated easy, but I'd say it was a little bit, maybe I'd call it moderate, and that's just because of the elevation increase. It was not hard, but if you're not used to the elevation increase, I think it could affect you. This is Larry doing his Lewis and Clark impersonation, as I call it. He likes to stand on the edge of these rocks. And I love for him to do it, but golly, it scares me to death. I'm afraid of heights, as you've heard me say in other videos. So 9 times out of 10, he's on his own out there, and if something happens, I'm going to miss him when he's gone. We left here and drove a little further into the Shoshone National Forest after our hike, and we were headed up to Fry Lake. Now, it was a little low. We did want to go and try some fishing, but because it was low, we didn't actually catch anything. The signs were great. Everywhere we went, everything was pretty clearly marked. There were maps everywhere, sign-in books, all that kind of stuff. And again, not a ton of people out and about. We felt like we were very fortunate. There were a handful of people here at Fry Lake, but they were on the other side and really had minimal interaction with them. So we stayed here for just a minute, and then we went over to Fossil Hill, which is what this is called. I actually call it Mount Motherfucker. Heights are not my thing. You've heard me say that. And going up was way easier than coming down. 406 foot of elevation, and my average heart rate across, according to my watch, said it was 131. It's like a shale or something. So the rocks moved under your feet coming down, and that just made me really, really uncomfortable. Larry promised me good dinner. He delivered. We went to this cowfish restaurant in Lander. The fries, again, amazing. He had fish tacos, and I had the local burger. All super delicious. Our waitress was awesome. And then we also had this quality control fry guy that stopped by to visit. His name was Will, and he was a very good boy. These pictures are of some of the artwork on some of the buildings in downtown Lander. We checked them out, headed back to the campsite, and then got back on the road the next morning, headed to the Tetons. Now, the Bridger National Forest is where the Tetons are, and we stayed in the Teton National Park. Parked the camper there and headed into Jackson Hole to pick up our daughter and Cody and her boyfriend Jeffrey, who were going to spend the rest of the vacation with us. Jackson Hole was up next on our list, and it was pretty busy as far as I could tell anyway. Folks were everywhere, but it was a Sunday. The Tetons, as you can see, are majestic. They're beautiful. It's just a beautiful, beautiful mountain range, and if you've never seen them, I highly recommend you go. This guy was at the airport, and it was a pretty cool statue. These are the famous antler archways. They're four guarding the corners of the George Washington Memorial Park or the town square, and every year the Boy Scouts go out to the National Elk Refuge to replace them if there's holes. These paintings are in a restaurant we went to. It was called the Roadhouse Pub and Eatery, and then we just walked around downtown checking out the statues and the boutiques. There's a boutique coming up that had a lot of paintings in it that were exquisite. They were huge. They were colorful. I don't remember how expensive they were, but man, they were something else to look at. Sheer talent, just a ton of it, just packed into that store. We walked around there for quite a little while, had some huckleberry ice cream, had a cup of coffee, just enjoying the sights and people watching, because that's one of my favorite things to do. And then on the way back to the camper, we caught the sunset, and you can see for yourself what a beautiful sight it was. Early the next morning, we took a quick trip over to Mormon Row. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's got one of the most iconic barns that's ever been photographed, called the Molten Barn. That's it, and it's been photographed thousands and thousands of times. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the sunset to come up and highlight the tips of those mountains, but it just didn't work out that great, even though we got wonderful photos. I'm sure these guys got wonderful photos too. And there's my support coffee group right there cheering me on. Took a ton of photos of this. And the sun never quite cooperated like we wanted it to, but we still got some wonderful shots. We watched the sun come up, and that's always a beautiful thing. I love to watch it. Larry always writes down when the sun's coming up, when the sun's going down, what moon phase we're in. He knows that I love to take photographs like that. And I'm thankful that he does all the homework for me. This is us. We're just stopping by some points of interest, getting some different kinds of photographs, and then we're going to head over to Jenny Lake to do some hiking. Again, I told you we had taken over 1,000 photographs. We've got panoramic, we've got video, we've got live photographs. I love this one of the moon up there. Those are my people right there. One of these pictures, I've got a picture of Larry taking a picture. So it's a picture inside of a picture, which is right up my sense of humor. This is us headed to the Jenny Lake and the Inspiration Point hike. This whole thing is totally surreal for me. I've always loved mountains, but I've never actually been in them. So I am digging this. Started off kind of cool in the morning. Temperatures were, I don't know, maybe 40s. So we layered up a little bit. But as the hike commenced and carried on, we did shed quite a few layers. We did an 8-mile hike up to Inspiration Point. We parked at the Lupine Meadows Road parking lot, and even though we were there pretty early, it filled up pretty quick. We hiked to Hidden Falls and Inspiration Point, and then back several miles into the South Fork Cascade Canyon Trail. There were a couple of big moose that we saw on the trail as we were walking back in there. Ran into Cowboy Ron. He's on horseback. You'll see him coming up. And watched just a little bit of the wildlife. You'll notice that as the day moves on, we lose layers. The leg warmers I wear, although super bright, are really, they're a really versatile piece of clothing that keeps me warm and is easy to change into something cooler by sliding them down around my ankles. And it makes me look super fashionable, right? The sights we're here are amazing. And again, I feel like beautiful just doesn't cut it when it comes to describing the views. This hike took us about 6 hours to complete. And of course, we obviously carried snacks, water to keep us hydrated, and carbohydrated on our journey. There is a little patch of ice up there. I don't know if you can tell or not, but we were super enthralled that it was as warm as it was, but the ice stayed. There are the moose. There's 2 of them in that picture. Pretty good size. And they didn't care at all that we were there and that we were hiking out, nor the other, I don't know, 50, 60 people that had actually stopped to take a look at them. They were pretty interested in themselves, and we were thankful. They do recommend that you stay a certain distance away from all wildlife, and we're not rule breakers. We like to try to, keep everything safe. We want to make it back and make it to another destination another day, so we do do what they recommend. Now, obviously everything is so picturesque. This one was just definitely a good day for a good day. Some of these pictures need to be put in a mat and hung up in a frame, made into a poster. I don't care. Just whatever it is. These should be looked at every day. They're just so majestic and so, I don't know, just spectacular. I just don't even have the words for them. This was a phenomenal day spent with family. And we're looking forward to going back and doing it again soon. And I think that's about a month out. We'll be going back. Now these pictures here, just another sunset going down. We were lucky enough to catch it right as it sat inside that kind of cradle there. Lots of lookout points, lots of places for you to pull over and look and just study and take pictures and walk around and get familiar with it. And if you've not done it, I can't stress hard enough that this should definitely be on one of your top 5 lists to go see. And I'm super excited to go do it again. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe. Come back and watch it again. If you've got questions, let us know. I will be putting our food that we took out there on this trip down in the comments, as well as an itinerary if you're so inclined. Take a look at it, use what's beneficial to you, and share if you want to. It's been a pleasure taking you along. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next go round. Thanks again.